Everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session called Differentiated Learning and Mastery Paths. Before we get started, we just wanted to make sure that you are not worried about taking screenshots or jotting down notes super quickly. So we're going to show you how to access our material now and for later as well. So Ricardo is going to take us into that.
So there should be a link on the chat. It's also over here. We do have a bit.ly for a Canvas resource page that we created for you. So you can access it through the link that we provided on the chat. Also, there is a QR code that is going to take you there. So we'll give you a second to do that.
So as you're doing that, we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. If you haven't seen us before, my name is Teresa Castro.
And I am Ricardo Recinos.
And we are both technology TOSAs from Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for instructor friends who are here with us in this session, who are going to help us in the chat, and who are going to help us navigate everything and come to our rescue just in case. Just kidding, not needed. But so we're going to go ahead and take you into that site that we just sent you to right now so that you see what you have there for you.
Yeah, so we don't want you to be worrying about taking screenshots or having access to this presentation. So we created this Canvas resource page that you have access to, and the link is on the chat. And in here, you have access to our slide deck. Also, we like to make sure that you are engaged. So we do have a Padlet. And go ahead, Teresa.
And just a little side note, we're assuming you're here because you are Canvas lovers like we are, and we have embedded everything in here. So it's just amazing that you can embed so many things inside your Canvas course so your students don't have to go somewhere else. So anyway, so that was a side note. So here I am with this Padlet that we've embedded here into our Canvas course. And please, if you're in there, please feel free. We love seeing interaction here, and we go back to it, not just now, but later. So any aha moments, things you like, learned, or would like to try, please add them here. Questions here, we can take questions in the chat, especially we have some friends from Instructure to help us out. But we like questions here just in case maybe if we don't have time, because we're a pretty jam-packed session right now. So we make sure to always go back to these to answer questions later. So in case we don't address it, you could add them here and we'll come back, we promise. And also, any suggestions or resources, we might have Mastery Paths experts in here or users who want to share their knowledge. So please feel free to add your resources here. We've already added our presentation here just so you also have it on hand.
So in addition to our slide deck, we also have differentiated this training for our teachers. So we do have a Mastery Path training for our elementary teachers, and we have the video right here for you to be able to go back and see. We also did this for middle school and high school. So you have this available right here. And also, we wanted to make sure that we provide resources. So anything that you might need to be successful with Mastery Paths inside of Canvas, all of our clickable links are right here that are going to help you. And finally, again, if you have questions later on, just please feel free to reach us out. Our email is right here. All of our social media channels are right here. We are 2 out of 5 Tech TOSAs from Hacienda La Puente under Dr. Helen Cunningham and our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Judy Fancher.
And we also want to thank so much our friends at Instructure, because the material we're providing today, of course, is ours, but we have borrowed and stolen from them as well, because it's such wonderful information as we've gone through their sessions. So thank you. Thank you. We're not stealing anything, just borrowing for today. All right. So, in our title, we are talking about differentiated instruction. We're assuming you're here because that means something important to you. So please join us in this conversation right now. Ricardo's going to stick in a link in the chat. And if you can join us, why is differentiated instruction good for all learners? We know this is obvious, especially for educators, but we learn something new whenever we ask this question. So go ahead and start the timer, Ricardo, and I'm just going to talk over it as I always do. So go ahead and jump in there and tell us, why is differentiated instruction good for all learners? And if you can't get into that, you could add it to the chat, but we would love to see you in there. We'll take about 30 seconds and I'll stop talking so you could actually think and participate. Oh, I love this one. Variability is the norm. No such thing as one size fits all or a monolithic population. Oh my goodness. Can you take over now, please? Just kidding. Choice. Absolutely. And did our timer run out already, Ricardo?
I think it was really
That was
fast, but
faster than
yes,
I
but
thought.
we
Oh
can always come
man.
back to it,
Yeah,
definitely.
so please feel free to add to that. We love going, even when we're done, we love going through that and seeing what educators have to say. So thank you so much for participating. Okay, let's go on. So in every session that we do, we love to ground ourselves in why. Why are we here? And hopefully this aligns with why you are here with us. We love to discover ways to differentiate instruction and assessment to lift the performance of all students across the learning continuum, including those who are falling behind, to those ahead of year level expectations, and students who are highly able and gifted.
And when we talk about differentiation, as a teacher, I love being able to design, assign, adjust curriculum, and monitor progress for all students, specifically for the ones that are falling behind. But what I love about Mastery Paths is the ability to reach those other students, right, Teresa? The ones that are
Absolutely. And we're
doing
going to go into that soon enough. So definitely. So our objective today is to demonstrate how Mastery Paths allows customized learning experiences for all students. So we know we're talking about differentiation, but you could see right here, we really are going to be focusing on Mastery Paths, which is an amazing tool inside of Canvas. So do you want to tell them a little bit about that, Ricardo?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it right now. There's so many ways to differentiate inside of Canvas, but Mastery Path really allows us to transform that linear way of teaching when we think about how we teach in the classroom, but also when we follow those modules, right? Linear, one after the other. Mastery Path allows us to change the learning environment to encourage differentiation, personalization, and also choice.
Absolutely. And if you've never used Mastery Pass before, you are going to be blown away. So let's continue. Provide multiple opportunities for students to show and achieve mastery, definitely. And our non-objective, as always, we don't expect anyone to become Mastery Path experts. And we might actually have some in this room. So please feel free to help us out. And we don't want you to feel limited to what is shared today because it is always changing, always evolving and improving. So let's go on. Here we're back to our why again, and many of you have seen this graphic probably for the last decade or more. It says up here, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. So we see these wonderful, amazing, unique animals here being asked to do the exact same thing and show their mastery in the exact same way. And that is not fair, right, Ricardo?
Yeah, this really hit home last year when my daughter was having issues when she was trying to write, and she kept just doing really really bad until we had her tested, and we discovered there were some issues with the way she can express herself through writing, and the teacher kept trying to us to show mastery through writing, and it wasn't until we found different ways to differentiate for her that she was able to be successful and feel like she was part of the classroom.
Absolutely. And down here by Albert Einstein, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And we never want any students ever to feel that way because of the way we provide instruction or the way we assess them. We want them to be able to have different avenues that fit to them, right? So we were talking about animals a moment ago. What does this look like in our classroom, right? So we have students who have different needs. They come from different educational backgrounds. What else?
Different attention spans and interests. That's me, right, Teresa? I'm like, look at the birdie. I always do that, right?
He's
But
absolutely
also
right.
different language abilities. Both Teresa and I are former ESL students, and this would have been great for us, I think.
Absolutely.
All
So let's
cultural backgrounds too.
yes. Okay, so let's continue. So how do we do that? We have to get to know our kids, and whether that's taking time to get to know them or actually getting to them through our assessments or through our assignments and how they're doing. So our kids have different levels of readiness, different interests, different learning profiles, which we can't ignore because that affects how they learn and how they're going to show us their mastery in any concepts that we have.
And we really think the mastery path allows for that as we can differentiate the content, knows how we can decide the interest that the students have, right? Language proficiency level and so on and so on. The process in which we do it, right? Small groups, whole groups, by themselves, right? Also the product. This is huge in Canvas, right? A kid might be able to give me a flip grade. It might be able to do a video in studio, right? Maybe a website, right? Maybe something on Google LTI or Microsoft LTI. And finally, those learning environments. How do we create that environment that makes our students feel safe, free to make mistakes, and feel accepted?
Yes, and we promise our intro is almost done. So here we are. So if you solicit data from students, you have a moral obligation to use that data to benefit the students from whom you solicited it.
Yes, we actually stole this from James, who's doing a mastery by instructor session on the other side.
At the
But
same time,
yes,
no leaving us though.
that moral obligation to use that data is key. And you're going to see how we can use that data and the pre-assessment that we use in mastery paths to allow for differentiation, to provide different instruction based on needs. So this is huge.
Yes. Okay. So this was a quick overview that we usually do with our teachers for a much longer training, but we are going to touch upon it briefly. We're going to show you what Mastery Path actually looks like, what it is, how to build them, a brief demonstration on how to build it, and some considerations to take as well, because not all Mastery Paths are built equally. You have to put a lot of thought for them to be effective for our students. So let's go on. So we were talking about earlier the benefits. If we haven't convinced you yet, hopefully we will soon. The benefits of using mastery paths. So enrichment, and I know, in the last few decades when I've been in the classroom, when you have those kids who are early finishers, who are maybe achieving, above, higher, what do we usually do? We just give them extra work. They finish like, oh, go do extra work. But we want to be able to give them a different path, maybe enrichment activities that will deepen their learning, not just additional work to do. And that's what mastery paths can do for us. And so the next one is for remediation for those students who need a stronger foundation before they move on. And MasteryPass also allows for them to review and to recircle and learn what they need to before moving on. And last but not least, student choice. And we believe all levels deserve student choice as well. But of course, be very intentional when we use it. So students actually have a choice on how they want to learn the material, which we're going to show you because we're so amazed by it. We're going to show that to you actually in Mastery Paths. It'll make more sense later on. So let's get down to business. And I think we're right on time with our timing, Ricardo. So we're going to go ahead and take them in. And like we said, when we do this training, usually it's much longer. We have the teachers come in as students and create it piece by piece. But again, this is just going to be kind of a little commercial for you on what Mastery Paths can do.
Right, and as Teresa said, just because you're not students in our master and our Canvas class, you won't be able to see our modules. But I wanted to show you. So this is a module that we have built already that actually has been turned into a mastery path. Okay, so notice all of the different assignments that our students have, but they're not going to follow a linear order of how they're going to do it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you the student view. When the students click on it, they only see the pre-assessment, and that is going to determine which path my student is going to take based on how they perform on the first assignment. On this particular path, we've used a new quiz inside of Canvas to do it, but I want you to see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna leave student view, and now I built this. We'll build one together later on, but I want you to see my mastery paths because I built it already, and I want you to see what it looks like. So depending on how my student did on that pre-assessment, we have the ability to send them in different ways, okay? So my students that maybe, I like to call my bands, what is it? Spicy, hot, and mild. That's what I call them. So let's think about the ones that are up here on the spicy band, okay? Notice that they have the ability to choose between going this path or following this path. So they don't have to complete everything. They have a choice to do it. Our other students that perform maybe in the middle, they have the same assignments, maybe with some modifications, but they get to do the same thing that the ones on top did. They had a little bit more choice. And finally, for my kids in the mild band right here, I've added some other forms of support. My video on present progressive, I'm a Spanish teacher, is there. My PowerPoint that I use during my direct instruction is there, along with all of the other assignments that I had before. So we wanted to make sure that you got to see how they look. And we'll build one together later on, but we wanted you to see this. But we also want you to see it from the student point of view.
And every mastery path is different. You have to decide what is your purpose for this mastery path. You could see down here, Ricardo, for those who need this extra assistance, he gave them activities to build that foundation to review. And maybe in another mastery path, he would have also given them the choice between which way they wanted to learn as well. So it's not always the same. Kind of mix it up and see how you want your kids to go through it. So anyways, before we continue, I'm going to show you what it looks like from a student point of view, this exact mastery path that Ricardo is talking about right now. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And if I'm in the wrong place, Ricardo, please just stop me. Here I am. So here I am in the student view that Ricardo showed you very briefly earlier. And you can see it's not as overwhelming as maybe this teacher view looked like earlier with like 10 million assignments. So the students know I have to do this one first, this anchor assignment or anchor assessment, and that will guide me which way to go. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it as a student. And you'll be able to see that I did this about 20 times already. And I do not know Spanish, everyone. Please do not judge me. Ricardo chose this for me. I don't know why. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that out. And as I do this, Ricardo's going to go ahead and talk a little about it.
Yeah, we're very intentional with that pre-assessment. We use a mastery new quiz to do this. And why did we do that? Because we're going to get an instant result. We created a simple quiz with fill in the blanks and with multiple choice that Teresa can take and get a result right away that is going to determine which path she's going to take based on the way she did it. We have been now using our mastery pads along with mastery by instructor, which we'll design a mastery pad using a mastery assessment by instructor later on. But Teresa's doing her answers right now, and you're going to see that depending on how she does, she's going to be sent one way or the other.
So my keyboard just decided to stop working right now, which is great. So I'm reaching across to my laptop to fill it out. So like Ricardo said, it doesn't have to be something self-graded. It could be something else, but if it's not self-graded, then they have to wait for you to actually score it before coming back to choose what path to take. So it's great to choose something that could be self-graded so that the students can, they could continue automatically. So I'm gonna go ahead and submit this quiz.
Yeah, so use what's available to you, those quizzes that are instant graded right on the spot.
Yes. Yeah. And on the bottom, I could say I got a 5 out of 5. Woohoo! I'm going to click on next. And now as a student, and see, I didn't understand this till I saw it from the student point of view. It's pretty amazing. The students can actually see what activities they're going to do. So I can choose personally, which one do I want to do? Here's option 1. I have some fill in the blank here. I'm going to listen to something. I'm going to watch this video here and also do a flip grid, or I have the choice down here. Maybe I want to do this activity instead, which is also fill in the blank with some graphics, different types of music and different types of videos and other forms that I need to do. So as a student, I can choose, what do I prefer? Do I like to write more? Do I like this song over the other? I don't know. And from there, I could select, and which I think is really awesome and very empowering for the students as well. So they're showing mastery, but they're having a voice in their learning as well.
And from the teacher point of view, I was very intentional when I designed this. As a Spanish teacher, I want to use the 4 modes of communication. My student is going to read, they're going to write, they're going to listen, and they're going to speak inside of this mastery path. So it was very intentional when it was designed that way.
Absolutely. So we wish we had more time to show you more from the student point of view, but let's go ahead and go in and show you how to briefly build a mastery path.
Yeah, so in order for you to build a mastery path, there's a couple of things that you should be aware of. The first one is that you have to make sure that your Canvas admin has allowed for mastery paths to be available in your courses. So if you don't see the ability to use the mastery paths, you might just have to talk to your Canvas admin and say, well, you know what, go into your account and make sure that mastery path is enabled for us to be able to use, okay? They also have the ability to lock this. We don't have it locked at our district because some teachers decide to use it and some teachers decide not to use it. So make sure that your Canvas admin actually turns that on for you, okay? Once they've done that, you also have to go into your Canvas course and you have to go into settings and you have to make sure, and this has moved, you have to make sure that when you go to course details, you come in here and you make sure that you enable that individual learning paths to be able to use inside of your Canvas course. So notice that I have it clicked on. So now I'm able to use mastery paths, okay? Mastery paths allows you to use assignments, anything that is gradable, but it also allows you to use pages, which we think is a great addition to it. So if you decide to use pages inside of your mastery paths, but also what we tell you to do too, just so you know, we have pages that we created for this particular mastery path that we're going to use. So when you create those pages, you do have to go inside of those pages. I'm trying to differentiate reading levels based on lexile levels. So I have different types of the same article. So I do want to come into my pages when I create them. And I want to make sure that I have allowed the use in mastery paths. And why do we use pages so much, Teresa, when we put them in mastery paths?
You know, a lot of teachers have asked, why do I need pages? You know, why would I need that? But, you know, Pages has the ability to have immersive readers. So we definitely want that resource for our students who maybe are struggling readers, are new readers, or, you know, need the language support as well. So again, depending on the purpose of your assignments. So we do love Pages for that reason.
So now I am ready to start working with my mastery paths and creating. So I created a module because again, we don't have a lot of time today. And I've added all of the assignments that I'm going to use. But this is very linear right now. The kids are just going to go in order, okay? So what I want to do is I want to go to my pre-assessment, the one that I'm going to use. And before we use a Canvas new quiz, now I'm actually going to use an assessment that came from Mastery by instructor called formerly Mastery Connect, right? And why do our teachers and why do we love this tool? Because honestly, it allows us to see where our students are and it gives us insight to drive learning. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to bring that assessment, okay? So I'm going to go there really, really quick. So I'm going to go in at Mastery Connect. This is going to be my assignment. So now you're going to notice that I have a tracker over here that I'm going to use for 4th grade. And I created my multi-standard assessment that is going to be standard-based assessment. Okay, so I'm going to select it and I'm going to add it. Okay, so now it's there. And let me go ahead and save And now that I've added that pre-assessment with mastery by instructor, you're going to notice that I'm going to go back. That's just showing me what the standards that I'm going to be using. And now that I've done that, when I go in here, I want you to see that, okay? And I go edit the assignment, I'm going to have the ability to now use mastery paths. So notice that now that option is right here for me, okay? So now I can click on it, and now I have the ability. This assignment was out of 20 points. So Canvas automatically decided what my breakdowns are going to be, 14 and above, 8 and above, and 0. But I can actually come and change this if I wanted to. So whatever I think is going to work for my students. I know my students, so I can actually decide. And now I get to build that path, okay? So the ones that are up here on the spicy band, if you want to call it that, I'm going to go ahead and click. Okay, and I can bring the assignments that I want to put in there. So I actually want to give my students this page that is at a higher level when it comes to reading. I also want to go ahead and maybe add a Minecraft assignment in here, and maybe I want to add one more assignment in here. And maybe a quizzes game, okay? And I'm going to add the items, okay? And now I have the ability to notice that right now they have to complete everything. But again, that idea of choice for the students, right? I can actually come here and say, you know what? They can take this path, or they can take this path, okay? Something that you should remember when you create a mastery path is that assignments are usually assigned to all students by default. So as you create this, once you build it, just go ahead to each assignment, go ahead and go in there, go ahead and edit, and just make sure that you change. Well, that's a page. Let me go back. I'm sorry. I should have stayed on the. That's a page. I want to go to actually to an assignment. Okay, let me go back and do that again. Okay. So this is an assignment that I assigned. What I was talking about. Okay. I want to make sure that you know that when you assign that in a mastery path, you do have to go and change it. And instead of being assigned to everyone, you want to change that, and you want to make sure that it's assigned to just the mastery paths. Okay. So not all students are going to see it. It's going to decide where to go depending on how the student did in that pre-assessment, and make sure and save that. Okay. Okay, so as I do that, let me go ahead and go back to my module. Let me go ahead and go back to that assignment that I was using as my pre-assessment. Okay, now I've added those assignments. I think they got deleted because I didn't save. So let me just put them back really quick. I know that was my
Please
fault.
always save. That
Okay,
happens
so
a
let me
lot.
just add them really quick. There you go. And then they're in here, right? So my point was to make sure that you do add that they are assigned in a mastery path. I can continue and keep adding those assignments for the students to be able to do, right? So maybe these ones are going to do, I don't know, that maybe this ones need the B page that I decided to use for reading. And I'm also want to add the quizzes in there, right? And I can continue to add them so the students can actually use them inside of the pattern. Once I'm done, I can go ahead and save and publish. And you're going to see that when I create them, and when I created that path now, and I go back to it, it's going to be created. And now it allows you to see how it was created. Some of them assignments are going to apply to multiple paths, and some of them are going to apply to however, depending on how the students did based on that initial assignment.
And I know he went pretty quickly, but I think something you may have missed is that, you could turn the and into or, vice versa. You could also click and drag items around. So if you just decide to throw them all there and then move them around, because for me, when I pick things, I'm not sure yet. I like to kind of fumble them and throw them all in and then move them around. So Ricardo, if you could just show them really quickly in the mastery path, when you go in there, you can actually go to the assignments and just, it's such a simple thing, but for me, it's a big deal. You just click on something and move it around.
Yeah, you
If
can do
you need
whatever you
to.
want with
Yeah,
it,
so
duplicate it,
very
and so
cool.
on and so on, add the or, and so on and so on.
Yeah, Ricardo already knows like what order he wants to do them. For me, I'm like, no, let's just throw it all in there, and then I'll decide if I see them all in front of me. So that's another way to do it. So, Ricardo, did you want me to show them a little bit more about the mastery?
Yeah, that assessment. Yeah, I think it's such a great assessment to show, because we're talking about differentiation. So I think it's such a great tool.
So we are talking about mastery paths, but we're also going to do a little bit of a plug for mastery by instructor, which is what Ricardo just talked about right now, formerly known as Mastery Connect, just so you could see why we chose to use this. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I'm just talking. So let me, so Ricardo, why would you select mastery?
Many reasons. Again, we're using the data to
Mhm.
determine which pattern students are gonna follow, but also those insights to drive our learning, and also the ability to differentiate. And you can actually show that in here for our students as they are going to choose that path based on this pre-assessment.
And for me, one of the primary reasons I would use it is because it's already attached to standards. And for me, for our elementary, we are standards-based grading. So this is a very big deal to be able to do something that's already built for me. I get to choose the elements that I want. And not just that, there are supports in here built in for your students that maybe the things that you have created don't have. And these are already here because look at this. The students go through, they can hit play, they can stop, they can go at whatever pace they need. And again, these are already here for you. It's kind of like a no-brainer, right? They're already built. You just have to provide them this resource. And over here on the right, the kids have these tools that can really help them. So they can review accessibility right here, the notepad if they need it. Line reader, this is a big one, especially for our younger students, maybe those who just have an easier time seeing a little bit at a time. And we have our strike through, add sticky note. We can hide sticky notes. We have these in here. So as our students are going through, they actually build these test taking skills. So these skills help them, but it also prepares them for state testing and things like that, who also have similar tools for them to use. So we just wanted to see you. I know we don't have to use Mastery, but it is just a great resource. And if you haven't used it, it's a great thing to look into for your district to use.
Yeah, and again, some of our teachers are using the new quizzes. Some of them are using the classic quizzes, and a lot of them, as they have been introduced to Mastery by Instructor, have been using this to use the pre-assessment to determine the paths. And they've used basically Mastery by Instructor at the end to reassess and make sure that our kids basically have mastered the material that they're trying to learn.
Absolutely. So, Ricardo, I think we went through that, as quickly as we could. And we have a huge 4 minutes left. And so usually at this point, we'll take you back. So if you need to contact us at any time, you have our information here. We didn't see any questions come into the chat. I don't know, Ricardo, if you saw any come. I didn't see any come in the Padlet either. So, but that means we did an amazing job. I'm just kidding that we didn't have any questions. But since we do have a few minutes left, if you do have any questions for us or for any of our team, please feel free to add them into the chat and let us know. And we will spend the last 3 minutes trying our best to answer any questions for you.
Yeah, and I know Teresa mentioned maybe we did go a little fast. I know we only had 30 minutes, but again, in this Canvas resource page, Teresa, if you can go to resources on top, I would just want to make sure that you know that if you are thinking about using Mastery Paths, I would just go on this clickable link, start at the beginning, we put them in the right order. How would I use it? How would I allow pages? How would I, allow my first assessment? So everything is going to be explained right in here for you guys.
And a little plug as well, if you're interested in learning more about Mastery by Instructure, formerly known as Mastery Connect, we're doing a full session at InstructureCon. And when is it, Ricardo? I already forgot.
July 14, I believe, but I might be wrong.
Yes, if you'd love to join us for our session there, we would love to take you through that.
Someone asked the question, what was the name of the toolkit? So that is it used to be called Mastery Connect. Now it's called Mastery by Instructure. And it's just such a great tool that allows you to give standard-based assessments. It has a humongous item bank. I basically just picked 4 grade standards, and I was able to just bring questions based on those standards.
So it's already built in. So if you do use the things from Mastery, then it's already built in there for you. And I think a lot of our teachers don't know that it exists. We're like, if you knew it, oh my goodness. What else? Oh, thank you so much for your feedback. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so we have just 2 minutes left. And so though we will miss you, we know that you have somewhere else you want to go. So feel free to choose your next breakout session that you would like to attend. And hopefully we see you around at another time. Thank you so much.